Hey YouTube, it's Elvis Ammo here. Hey, today we are going to make some ammo. You guessed it. We're going to make us some 357 Magnums, and this video is going to be more about, or I'm going to try to make this video more about the process that I use to make the ammo, more so than just making a bunch of ammo. Everybody knows that you can put the powder in, the primer in, rack it on around, make some ammo. What I'm going to try to accomplish here is I'm going to show you, some of the vital steps that I think is important to make some good ammo that's not going to lead your barrel. I'm going to show you a couple of things that it might be a little unconventional, but the same rules apply if you're making jacketed ammo as it is to cast ammo, cast bullets. But the difference is going to be slight. With cast bullets, there's slight changes that you can make to improve your chances of making a better round, and one that's going to function and not lead your barrel and that kind of thing. So we'll get into that. But I decided that I would make today we're going to be making ammo for 3 different bullets. The first bullet that we're going to make Magnum 357 Magnums for is going to be this Lock Miller design. It's an old mold. Anyway, it's not that important. It's weighing in at 162.3, that one right there. So these are actually running around 162.5 grains. Okay, and that's what it looks like before powder coated. And that's the Lock Miller bullet that you seen me cast in the last video. And this is my newest bullet right here. This is a Keat style bullet from my new Arsenal mold that I done a review on, and cast these bullets. So that's my Keat bullet. And this is pretty much a clone of the RCBS bullet, their Keat bullet. That's from Arsenal molds, and this one is I'm gonna have to look at my box here to be sure what I'm talking about. Let's see. Okay, here we go. This one is my 358-105. All right, and that's the bullet right there. All right, and it's weighing in at 110 grains. I know it says 105 here, but it's actually 110 grains. So we're going to make Magnum loads for, I figured we'd do a couple of different kinds of bullets, traditional style bullets, hard hitting bullets, bullets that you could hunt with, bullets that we will find out later, if these bullets are good for self-defense, for hunting. I have quite a bit to cover in this video, so the next video will be the shooting video to see how these bullets respond and react, and the ballistic gelatin and that kind of thing. And that's going to be pretty exciting because there's a lot of things that we want to know about these these Magnum rounds, you know, how effective they are. So with that said, I'll go ahead and get into the process. So I'm making two different style bullets here of these of your traditional weights. This one is 162.5, we'll say, and this this bullet from Arsenal Molds is this one here is showing 157.1, but now with the powder coating on it, this is my Arsenal Mold bullet. That's what that one looks like with my powder coat mix that I like to use. 156.9 is what I'm coming up with there. And then I have to mention that these blue bullets, this is kind of the nice thing about being able to color coat your bullets. This bullet right here, this blue one, is a soft lead bullet. And that's what we want to see. We want to see, you know, how soft do you have to make it for this bullet to expand and that kind of thing. You know, this nice flat nose there, you know, we want to see if this thing will expand, and we'll also see if these things cut nice holes out of this Arsenal Mold and the Lock Miller bullet. So this soft lead is going to weigh substantially more. It's about 160 grains, and I'm just rounding these up, folks, or down. And here's the Lock Miller, the soft bullet, 163.5 grains. So we're going to have some hard hitters here, you know, at Magnum velocities, and we'll see what those velocities are when we shoot. But for now, let's look at this process, the process that I use, and I'm going to kind of show you some stuff where you can make up your own mind about what process you would like to use to load these cast bullets most effectively. I'm going to show you a few things that'll help you make that decision on your own. So, first of all, there's a few things, like I had mentioned, that are a little bit unconventional, and that is when it comes to, now I just took this primer feeder off so we can see good in here, and I'll just feed these primers in by hand. But right here, this is something I've never seen anybody show before on YouTube or anywhere, and I thought I would just bring it up. Well, there's a couple different things. This is my bullet seating die. All right, I'm gonna have to take this out so I can show you guys. All right, now this is my bullet seating die. First of all, whenever you're loading cast bullets, the bullet seating die is going to be insignificant. When I say insignificant, I mean the only thing that it's going to be that you want it to do is to seat your bullet. You don't want to put any pressure on the case or the bullet as the bullet goes into the bullet seating die like you would in a traditional bullet seating die. The bullet seating die actually gives you the neck tension and the crimp that you want on your bullet. Well, in this case, we don't want any kind of neck tension or crimp from the bullet seating die because we want our factory crimp die to do that job. So the process that I'm going to show you includes the factory crimp die to put the neck tension and the crimp that you want on your bullet. What's significant about this one is, now I believe that I'm not 100% positive, but I know I've seen Fortune Cookie 45 LC use the 40 caliber. This is a 40 Smith & Wesson bullet seating die. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can take my word for it. So this is a 40 Smith & Wesson bullet seating die. What this does, it allows the case, once this case is flared, because you want to flare the case head, case mouth, so that it will accept the bullet. Once this is flared, if you put it into a 38-357 bullet seating die, before the bullet is seated well, the flare will put pressure on the bullet, and it's possible you can use the 38-357, you know, just back it out as far as you possibly can and just use your seating stem down as far as you can, you know, in order to accomplish that. But it don't work as well as stepping up to the 40 caliber. So with this brass flared out as it's going in, the flare of the brass will be, you know, pretty close to the diameter of your 40 cal bullet seating die, and it will allow the bullet to get pushed into the case without affecting your flare. And then whenever you take it over to the factory crimp die, the factory crimp die will fix all of that. So that's one thing that's significant. Not sure how many people know that that's an option. That's a good option. But that's the part that I know I've seen Fortune Cookie use this 40 caliber, like I said. Now I don't know if he uses this process all the time when he's making 38-357. But one of the things that I do that I've never seen before is now this right here is the 38-357 bullet seating die. Alright, that's what that is. And inside of your bullet seating die, any bullet seating die for that matter, you have a bullet seating stem. And you can see, you know, it's rounded off like that. And this is another thing that Fortune Cookie does, is whenever he's using you know, his Keith style bullets or Keith bullets or truncated cone or flat nose bullets of any kind, he says you can just file this down flat, and that's true, and it works perfect. It works great. But there's another thing that you can do as well that I've never heard mentioned that I like to use. So I just leave my bullet seating stem like it is, and in my this die that I'm going to use today, the 40 Smith & Wesson, the 40 cal bullet seating die, what I have done, and you can add this to your 38 bullet seating die. You can do this with most all your dies, I imagine, if you wanted to. But inside, I took the bullet seating stem out, and I use, anybody recognize this? That is your sizing ram for your sizing die. See, this is your 358, you know, to size your 357 38 special. That's that ram stem. That's what that is. So what I do is I just take that, and you can use this, or you can a 9mm works just fine as well. I know that you can use this in your 38, 357, you know, in your 38 special seating die. You can put this in there as well. So instead of, if you don't want to file down your seating stem, you can just put this ram in there, and it goes in, plunk, just like that. All right. So here's my 40. Here's my bullet seating stem. I mean it's my bullet seating stem now, but it's you know, my sizing stem. Drop it right in, just like that, and go ahead and put in the top, and you have your bullet seating stem in there. So that works awesome, you know, right in there, and I still back it out. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But I'll have to readjust all that, of course. But it was worth showing, you know, how I seat my bullet. That's a big deal with, you know, with some of these longer bullets like this. You know, as it gets pushed into your bullet seater, and then. The next thing that I'm going to show you is, you know, there's a big question of, you know, do you size your bullets or not? And I know Fortune Cookie talks about this constantly all the time, and so what I decided I would do is I would just kind of show you a couple of tricks, and let you see, you know, what the difference really is. And is it significant? Do you have to size? Is it better to size it? Is it not? And I'm going to show you that. So I think that's probably the best place to start. Is just go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to. I have a sized bullet here. I'm just going to go ahead and load that bullet. I'm going to load a sized bullet in here. And then I'm going to load an unsized bullet, and we're going to see what changes occur when you do that. Okay, now for the loads that I'm going to make today, I'm using approximately I say approximately, you'll see. Approximately 16 grains of little gun, because the whole idea of loading today is really kind of come up with a hard hitter hunting round for these heavier bullets, and then show you, you know, what we're going to do for some lighter bullets as well. So 16 grains of little gun. I'll be honest, you know, I just put it in the powder measure. It's insignificant. At some point, you know, depending on the size barrel, I'm gonna be shooting these mostly out of. I may change. I may put one of these in a 6-inch barrel and see what happens. But I'm gonna go with my 5-inch barrel. It's kind of middle of the road. A lot of people have 4-inch barrels, 5-inch barrels, 6-inch barrels. So I'm just going to kind of hit middle of the road, and we're going to see what happens with that. But at some point, you know, you reach a maximum powder charge to where you're not burning any more powder, you know, because of the length of your barrel. So that's why I say it's kind of insignificant. In this case, I believe that after you hit 16 grains of powder, and we're working between some safe zones here, but I look at a charge like this as a max charge. I mean, that's just me. You know, I always err on the side of safe and caution. So, but 16 grains of little gun, you know, that's a pretty full charge here, and you know, it's probably 95% capacity, so you're not going to get much more in there to begin with. But if it's 16.1 or 2, it's not going to matter, because it's not going to change much of anything in velocity, because the powder is not going to burn out of a 5-inch barrel. I'm just kind of throwing that out there as food for thought. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to make we're going to make Magnum loads, little gun, 16 grains, and I'm just going to drop them right out of the powder measure. And another thing, there's very little significance with a charge like this, in my opinion, whether you use small pistol primers or Magnum primers. But for the sake of making rounds that we want all the powder to burn, and do the best we can to make all of that happen, I'm going to be loading these with some Federal small Magnum pistol primers. Alright, so here we go. Let's go over here. We got a case. We're going to deprime. I'm gonna put my safety glasses on. Especially when I'm on YouTube. Alright, so now we're going to deprime. Size the case. I'm going to grab one of my Magnum primers and just set it on here. And we're going to prime that round. And now what I'll do is I know that I'm working within tolerances that are safe. So I know I'm not maxed out to the point where this is dangerous. So I'm going to go ahead and weigh this case right here. I'm going to tear that out. So we're at 0, and we're just going to put a powder charge. This is going to charge the case, and it's going to flare the case. Alright, so we're going to put that on the scale. We're at 16.2 grains. Alright, and that is fine with me, because if it's 16 grains, it's going to pretty much do the exact same thing as 16.2 grains. This is just something that I happen to know about this powder and about this charge. Okay, and we'll see what that all means whenever we shoot these over the chronograph. 16.2 grains right there. Okay, so now we are at about right there in that case. Alright, and the first bullet we're gonna load is the Keith bullet from my Arsenal mold. And as you can see, it's you know, it's gonna be almost maxed out. Okay, there's barely any light between the bullet and the powder, so you want just enough flare on there to where you can set that bullet on there good. And so we're going to set that on here. I'm going to set this bullet on here nice and straight as I can, and that nice flat bullet seating stem in here is going to just push that bullet right in. Now, I don't know where I'm set, so I'm going to have to reset that. I'm just going to go ahead and back that way out. I think I'm at a safe distance there. I'll just take a look here. Can I reset that? Push this stem down until I feel it touch the bullet. Pick it up. Let's see what we got. Alright, we got a little ways to go. Put a little bit more on it. I'm going to put a little bit more on it. Maybe a hair. Alright, so now what we done is we seated that bullet all the way down to the front driving band. Alright, so now it's going to go through the factory crimp die. And there we go. See that? Now, whenever, unfortunately, my factory crimp die has some kind of a burr inside of it that I can't seem to get rid of. After this project, I'm going to send this back to Lee and get another one, I think, or they're going to fix that one or something. Anywho, I just thought I'd mention that because whenever I pull this case out, you'll hear it grab the bullet a little bit, and it does a little bit of a mark on here, not enough to be a no-go, but anywho, on the crimp, on a bullet like this with a full charge of Magnum powder, the crimp here is significant for consistency. Alright, so if you're not getting a good consistency over your chronograph, you know, it's probably has to do with the crimp. With a load like this, you want a good, I'd call it a maximum taper crimp for this bullet, for this charge. All right, it's a hard hitting round. You got a lot of powder that needs to burn up in there. So there you go. So there's one right there that we just made. Now the next thing that we want to see is we want to see what the difference is between this bullet that I just loaded and what the difference would be between that one and one that's sized. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Now this one is a sized bullet. I'm going to go ahead and load it. So we're going to go ahead and deprime and size this case. I'm going to put a Magnum primer in there. And we're going to go ahead and give it a charge. We'll go ahead and weigh that one too, just to make sure we hadn't moved things around. So I'm just tearing it out, weighing it in the case. It's as exact as anything else that I know of. We just flared the case right there and put a powder charge in it. Alright, that one come up 16.4. What am I, 1,000 more? I'll hit it again. Just to be, it really don't matter, to be honest with you. I can't remember what the last charge was, 16.3 I thought. 16.2 on this one. That's just fine. Alright. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add this sized bullet to here. Alright. Go right on up in there. Go ahead and put a crimp on it. Alright. Got a nice crimp. So now, what we want to do is, I'm just going to show you, the difference here. Watch it make a liar out of me. I got this zeroed out, and I'm just going to put it just below the crimp here. See if I can hold that. 378.5. 379. There you go. Now at 378.5, 379, the book, by the book is case dimension 379.379. Alright, so now this is the one we loaded that was unsized. Yep, it's going to make a liar out of me maybe. I'll try to put it in the same place. I'll tell you what. This, I really need a new... Well, let's give me 379.5. So, pretty much, let's see, 379. I'm just going to spin this thing around, all around in here. We'll just try to get an average. Let's see, we'll just do this. This is about the only best way you can do it. Alright, we'll go from the bottom of the case all the way up. Right there. See, that's giving me 380 right dead center all the way to the bottom of the case. Alright? 379, 380. Alright? And I'm squeezing it hard. So I'm going to add the same pressure, do the same thing. Let's see what we got. See, this one, it's significantly larger at the top than it was the bottom. 379. So this is consistent with what I already know, and that is what you end up with is a bullet that is 1/1000th of an inch larger if you don't size your bullet, which so this one here is the this one is the unsized. That one's the I got them mixed up, but it don't really matter because here's what I wanted to show you. Now, if we go by what the book says, the book says if it chambers, then it's good. So it don't even matter which one this is. See, goes in and out, in and out. In and out. So what's significant about it? Well, what you just seen happen, what you just seen was you seen the case size the bullet, didn't it? So really, you know, you can I'd rather depend on the case, and then what we know is it don't matter that this bullet diameter is so large, does it? I'm going to show you what the difference is. This is, man, I have got to do, I thought it was the old battery thing in this. I've got to get another one of these. You guys are laughing at me. Laughers. Alright. So look at this. I mean, that's pretty significant. 0.362 with the powder coat on it, unsized. Alright. I mean, that's a large bullet, man. I mean, now some of them are 0.360 and different. I'll just grab another one and we'll take a look. .364. Let's grab another one. So 0.362. Alright. So now let's look at these right here. Now these are size bullets. .358. .358. .358. Those were all sized in the sizer. Alright. So how come if if that bullet is so large that after we run it through the press and the factory crimp die, put it in the case, that we're only 1/1000th larger? That's it. So, you can make of that what you like. And that's why I was telling you, that I'm going to show you part of this process that's significant. It's some significant evidence that you can use, information, to make an educated decision. But I can tell you this, I think that Fortune Cookie has it right with not sizing the bullet, because when you put it in the case and you run it through the factory crimp die and it still feeds in the chamber, I guess you could argue that it's a waste of time to size them if they're sized whenever you put it in the case and run it through the factory crimp die. So that's all I'm saying. And that's and what we're talking here is we're talking revolvers. We're talking revolvers. That's all we're talking about today. There's a whole lot of stuff to get into other than that. So now let's go ahead and make a couple of rounds here. I'm not going to bore you with making a bunch of ammo, but here we go. The process is what you guys are interested in. So we're going to use the same keep bullet. Put it on there. Run it into the die. Into the factory crimp. And we got another round. But that crimp is significant. You're not going to get the feet per second you're looking for if you don't get a good crimp on it, and it's not going to be consistent. So, I don't know how many more of these I can make. I'm just going to make one more, and then we're going to switch over to the other one. All right, we're going to size this. Put our primer in there. Put some powder in there. Here I'm gonna go ahead and just make this other bullet, this Lock Miller. I'm gonna throw that in there. Them things sit in the case real nice. Well, that's gonna make me change my. Nope. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was longer. It was longer. I gotta seat that one a little bit deeper to get to the crimp. I guess the reason I'm not really, showing you the case overall length is just because, you're going to put it right to that driving band in that crimp groove, and that's it, right? And into the factory crimp. And a nice bullet with a good crimp on it, like I said. So we'll put that one over here. By the way, you can the Keith bullet has a little tiny bit longer nose on it, if you can tell. See there? So now let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and change over, and we're going to. All right, so I'm gonna make up a bunch of these, and for us to shoot. But you get the idea, and I'm trying to think if there's anything more significant that I can add, to this process for the revolver, and how I do it to make it. Here's. Well, I mean, I probably could show you some more stuff, but I guess I'll just tell you a couple of things. If you if you make if you don't use the 40 caliber bullet seating die, what it will cause you to do is then you'll just about definitely have to size your bullet. You'll almost definitely have to size your bullet. Otherwise, whenever you seat the bullet in the case, it's going to, it may shave a little bit. It may shave a little bit of your lead on your bullet and maybe your powder coating. And what it'll do is it'll stack up just a little bit of shaving inside of your crimp. And that will cause some leading in your cylinder, right there around your chambering in your cylinder. You'll see a developing lead ring where every time this thing goes off, you'll develop a ring right there because you have loose shaved lead inside or underneath your driving band in that crimp. So that's where using a 40 cal is going to help you, but you can certainly get it done. You gotta you'll have to back this seating die if you're using the 38 357. You'll have to back this seating die out as far as possible. Now it is helpful to use your sizing ram stem that I have in there, even with the 38. What it'll do is it'll give you more length to your seating stem, so it'll allow your case to go into the seating die as shallow as possible, to create less scraping on your bullet, is my whole point. But you can use that ram, in your 38 as well. Now, if you, but you'll definitely find that sizing it is going to work out a lot better for you in that case. So, I was trying to think if there's something else I can tell you about that. That's pretty much it. If you're using your 38, you're probably going to need to size these bullets. Now whenever I get all these loaded up for our shooting video, we're going to be shooting these blue bullets as well, which is the soft lead, and we're just going to see what kind of expansion we get with those. Now let's go ahead and switch over to our 110 grain bullets, our semi-wide cutter 110 grain. We'll go ahead and switch over to that. So let's go ahead and well, I'll show you this as part of the process, I guess. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this. You'll get to see how that happens. That's fine. It won't take me long. I've got another powder measure set up for with powder in it, and I'll show you what powder I'm going to use in my 110. So we'll just go ahead and just take this powder measure right off there. Get it out of the way. That looks safe. And we'll go ahead and just remove it. Remove the whole thing. And instead of using the powder measure, bring it around here where you can see it. Instead of using the powder measure, the powder through dye that we're flaring with, we will use a universal expander dye. Alright, so we'll just replace the powder measure with a flaring dye. So this kind of shows you there's all kind of things you can do with a press. You don't need to just do the same old thing. So we'll just replace that powder measure. Now we're going to do our flaring with that dye. So we'll have to set that up, which won't take but a minute, a second or two. I can't seem to get that done. Alright, so now what I'll do is, where are you guys at? You guys are over there. Trying to see if I can get all this in the picture here. Alright. So what I'll do is I'm just going to move this over here, and yeah, you can see that. I'm putting a clamp on it just because with this. So I'm changing up right here now. Alright, we're going to remove the little gun, and now we're going to use some HP 38. I thought I would just go ahead and choose this powder. This is a powder that a lot of people use, or powders like this, shotgun powders, all kind of different powders. So with this powder, this is HP 38, which the data always jives with Winchester 231. So here we have HP 38, and we're going to use this with our 110 grain bullet. So let's go ahead and now with these, I very seriously doubt, well, I know that a Magnum primer ain't going to make a difference. Small pistol primer, Magnum primer, you'll probably find on both of these loads that I'm doing today that a small pistol primer will work absolutely just fine. You'll see no difference. But just for the kicks and giggles of making a Magnum round, we're going to use Magnum primers. So here we go. Go ahead and size that, and put the primer in there. Now we need to flare this case, so let's find out where my flaring is. And just give it a couple of, let's see what we did there. There's our 110 grain. Okay, a tiny bit more. Just turn that down a little bit. And let's see what we got. Yep, that'll work. Yep. So now we're over here to the bullet seating die, and we'll, well, let's put some powder in this thing. How about that? That's scary. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead, and I have this thing set up for, I got my paper sitting over there I can look at, 8.2 grains. Alright, so let's just go ahead and weigh this case. 8.2 grains of HP 38 or Winchester 231. Zero that out. Right there. That give me 8.4. That's fine too, by the way. You'd probably go all the way to 9 with this one if you wanted to. Just throwing that out there. But we'll just do it again. I moved it around. See if it can't make a liar out of me. 8.3. That's perfect. Okay. I know that I'm within a safe loading zone with this powder, okay? Alright. So, here we go. We got 8.3 grains in here. And we're going to put our 110 grain bullet right there. And let's see where we're at. We almost had it right. Give it a little bit more. One more time. Alright, one more time. I always go a little bit at a time. You can always go down with it. You just can't go back up with it. So that looks good right there. And the crimp is going to be set about where it needs to be. You could lighten the crimp a little bit on this round compared to the last one. But you don't have to. So there we go. Little tiny bullet in it. So that's a 110 grain. So we'll go ahead and do another one of those. Put a primer in there. And I guess I better put my bullet on it. You can get ahead of yourself, I can tell you. See, normally whenever I seat my bullet on here, when I go down like that, I usually just hold on to my handle, because what it does, it allows, well, I ain't even ready for that. I'm not editing this out. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with it. We gotta flare this thing. Alright, now we're flared. This thing is looking like a bullet seating die, throwing me off. So let's get some powder in there. And that's the bullet seating die. That looks like a bullet seating die. I mean, it'll make your brain go. Especially here on YouTube. Now that thing don't look like it. I'm gonna run that thing back through the expander there. Looks like it needs to go down a little bit more. Alright. Yeah, I'll probably use a little bit more. So, I don't know how that changed on me, but it did. I think that's good. Alright, so there we go. See, I like to hold this handle right here, you know, because it puts pressure on the case, so I can seat my bullet without the case moving. That's how I like it. There, and there's another one. And I just left the heavier crimp on it. Like I said, I could probably lighten the crimp a little bit on this one. You definitely want a good medium size at least on this powder here as well. You know, I'd say, you know, on the high side of medium. On these Magnum rounds, and on the on your full house loads like your little gun, you know, a little bit more crimp, you know, kind of max your crimp out, so to speak. So there we go. Let's see if I can get through this without making a mistake now. Sometimes if that primer don't feel right, just go ahead and check it before you move on. See, I almost did it again. I'm used to having that powder measure up there. So you hold a little pressure on a press like this, you know, it gives you that option. And there we go, another one. There we go. So that's pretty much it. I let you see, you know, that's my process. You know, that's how I do it. It's kind of some tips and tricks on things that you know, like using that sizing ram. I've never seen anybody do that, and I thought, man, you know, I mean, this is a good time to show not just loading this ammo and what we're going to shoot, but I mean the process that's helpful to me, and just kind of share that with you guys. YouTube, we're going to come back and do a shooting video on some of these. Ballistic gel, chronograph. We're going to get to see some fun stuff, blow some stuff up. I'll see you in the next video.